Taylor Kwan, WDC PD.
I thought I smelled a cop.
I'm not interested in some disposable hired hitter. I want the guys who took out your partner.
What are you gonna do, bring out some kung fu from the homeland?
I was born in Florida.
I hire people like you to eliminate the enemy.
You two are insane. You're dealing with an ex-mercenary. He's gonna punch your ticket, and I am gonna watch. You don't just kill a guy like that.
I just did.
So I'm assuming by the title, this is a romantic comedy.
Why's that?
Because that's how I usually feel after watching a lot of them.
You want to put a bullet in your head?
Well, it's the sequel to Sliding Doors. It's Bullet Train to the Head.
Yeah.
I think the title is just telling you what to do before you go see the movie.
Put a bullet in your head rather than see the film?
It's a good... How could I possibly enjoy this? Put a bullet to the head.
It's a viable alternative to seeing the film.
Yes.
Although, all that being said, and while fully admitting that Bullet to the Head is far from a quality film, I didn't hate this movie at all.
That's because there's nothing in it to hate or it's
There's plenty to dislike.
it's just so white bread. Like there's nothing really to it. It's just like, here it is. There's the plot. Oh, okay, and then it's over.
Now, there's one very distinctive thing about this film that it holds a position in the record books. It's Sylvester Stallone's growliest role yet.
Yeah, let's take the barely intelligible yard ape and let him narrate the movie. Who fucking made that decision?
Here's the thing. In this job, I always say you can't do this job if the way you describe a movie is going like, oh, that was stupid. And yet I have to break my rule with this because I was sitting there watching. I was like, this is stupid.
Right.
It just on so many levels, so many decisions, so many of the characters, times when I didn't understand the plot, not because it was too complex, but so I was like, this doesn't make any sense.
Well, it's filled with giant, ridiculous, insensible plot holes.
Yeah, I mean, forget plot holes. I'm not even looking at plot
Yeah,
holes.
well, character motivation
Yes.
type stuff. I mean, it's ultimately the biggest flaw here is that none of the characters have anything even mildly interesting or realistic about them, except Sylvester Stallone's character, who felt like he's the only one this film was written for at all. Like, there was a punch-up job done only on his lines.
Right. Like, he hired his own guy to come in.
Exactly. No, I'm not anywhere near as cool and funny as I should be.
Is that supposed to be me?
Yeah. Hey, maybe he did it himself.
I don't know, but they're definitely going for a sort of Parker, the original Parker type idea. Like this whole sort of a hero who's not a hero, who's a piece of shit, but finds himself in a position where ultimately he's got that little bit of a conscience that creeps out enough for him.
Just enough of a heart of gold.
Just enough of a heart of gold to, if not completely do the right thing, at least get on the side of the angels and be a dickhead during that path.
Sort of a Parker story, but this time starring Sylvester Stallone. So
still old.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Like I've been really okay with Stallone continuing to do these things because there's something about him that obviously he's aging, but he's been convincing as a leading man. Whereas Schwarzenegger, it's like, dude, just stop. But in Bullet to the Head, I was like, okay, just stop. Maybe just stop.
There's a vein of truth of that, and you can.
There's
see
lots
them
of veins
all
in his
over
arms.
Well,
damn you!
It's disgusting. What the fuck?
He doesn't do himself any favors in that, like, they decide to show the history of this character, and they use all these old shots of Stallone, many that we've seen before from other movies and other places.
Yeah.
And it's almost like he's giving you a chart of like, hey, remember when I used to look like this? And then I look like this? And then like this.
Yeah, the awkward
and
part
then
is,
like this.
is when one of the mugshots was clearly from the gay porn he made before Rocky.
Well,
Like, that was uncomfortable.
They're all like promo shots or still shots from other movies, and each one you could call the movie
Exactly.
they're from. I'm like, oh, that's Nighthawks.
Right.
That's Judge Dredd. Wait, you should really take the helmet off.
Exactly. The story here is in New Orleans following a hitman, Jimmy.
Because that's where movies are cheap to make.
Yeah, exactly.
And life is cheap, apparently. Where Jimmy Bobo, Sylvester Stallone, I know, really, who comes up with this? And his partner, played by John Seda briefly, Louis Blanchard, they're involved in some shit that ends up after they're trying to take care of it with the partner getting killed in a bar by a seedy and as her usual unconvincing performance by Jason Momoa, who comes out with a little carving knife and surreptitiously kills his partner. Obviously it was a hit on them. So why was there a hit on them?
I gotta say, like, Cinema Hitman, like, I don't understand why anybody takes that job.
Yeah.
Because clearly, like, the firing practices of your boss are deplorable.
Well, yeah, you would think the first thing you'd think when you look over and you see this massive film crew set up to show you doing the hit is to not take the job.
One would expect.
But regardless, Bobo survives and says, I'm going to avenge my partner's death. Meanwhile, enter Detective Taylor Kwan, played by Sung Kang, who you might remember, although probably, I can't imagine why you would, from Fast and the Furious Part 3.
Oh, I thought Sung Kang was a character from Mortal Kombat 3.
No, there is no Mortal Kombat 3
No,
movie.
he could be remembered.
Game. Okay.
He could be.
Just be quiet.
Why can't you be the straight man I need you to be? Said Cyrus's mom.
She's fabulous.
Sung Kang, I remember from Fast and Furious 3 because it was one of those situations like Alien 3. It was like, oh, wow. Amongst all this shit, here's this really interesting character. Oh, you just killed him. No, great.
Well,
now I got to sit through the rest of this.
So you're like, okay, let's give Sung Kang another chance.
Yes. Well, yeah.
They
They had him in the last Fast and the Furious movie.
Sung Kang has come to New Orleans to investigate the death of the guy who, in fact, Sylvester Stallone and his original, now ex-partner, killed, we saw in the beginning of this, who was, in fact, an ex-cop himself. And along the way, he's told by the local New Orleans police, we don't want you here, we're going to take your piece, get the fuck out of our town, which should have been a bit of a clue.
Especially in New Orleans.
Yeah, especially in New Orleans. But he finds out pretty quickly on that, okay, so there's something deeper going on here. He ends up in a situation where he's forced into a reluctant relationship, to say the least, with Sly Stallone's character, with Bobo. We're just going to keep calling him Bobo.
I think it was really nice of you to switch out the word contrived for the word reluctant. But yeah.
Where they're forced to work with each other, although not at all.
Yeah, they're not forced at all.
No.
Where Sylvester Stallone, Bobo, keeps repeatedly saving the life. I mean, really saving the fuck out of the life of this guy who does nothing but spit in his face after.
Yeah, like he gets shot and Stallone takes him to be fixed up. And while he's laying there being sewed up, he's going like, yeah, but when this is all over, I'm going to catch you, right? It's like, one, I don't think you can. And two, no, you're not. There's no reason for you.
Unless you have an elephant gun, I don't think you're going to make it happen, dude.
I know this is Walter Hill directing this, who is, in fact, a director who's made many great films. And I know that probably the business model here is 48 hours to some extent. I mean, like, what they're chasing after that
As
level...
in, that's how long it took to write the script?
No, they're chasing after that level of antagonism between the two partners. That eventually...
Oh, no, you can see how, at times, it's supposed to be 48 hours.
Oh, yeah, completely.
But nobody here is Nick Nolte, and they certainly aren't Eddie Murphy in his prime.
And the screenwriter, Alessandro Camon, who wrote, the only other professional credit he has that I've seen was The Messenger, which is a great film.
Movie. But here he's more like, Alessandro, come on.
Yeah, because there's nothing convincing here. He's created a film where every character on it, in here, is not only completely one-dimensional and cartoonish, which, sure, it's based on a graphic novel, but still.
Yeah.
They're not even convincing within their cartoonishness.
They aren't.
You've got Adewale...
Mr. Echo.
I want to try it. Wait a second. Adewale akinnuoye-agbaje.
I think it'd be better.
Agbaje. There we go.
You forgot that.
Oh, you're right. I forgot that.
That's a terrible thing. I apologize for that completely. I'm a terrible person. I'm a terrible white person. I apologize.
I do that all the time.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah.
God damn it, you goddamn Uncle Tom motherfucker.
Wait, you call him a terrible white person all the time?
He knows that.
This was all set up to out you, Leon. And Christian Slater.
Yeah. Once you see Christian Slater's name in the credits,
you're like, oh.
You go like, oh, that's not good at all.
Well, right there they go, wow, nobody else wanted to be cast as this role. They had to fall back.
I needed the
Christian
paycheck,
Slater.
so I showed up for a couple days.
I don't blame Christian Slater. I blame, the film being as bad as it is, being as bad of a script as it is, that, of course Christian Slater wasn't the first person they offered this to.
No.
There's no way he was the first person
they went through a
offered
veritable
this to.
Carousel of character actors before they arrived at Christian Slater.
And then his phone rang and he went, what the hell is that noise?
I didn't know I still had service. I haven't paid in like a month.
It's just, it ends up being a really by the books revenge film, It's sorta, except like nothing works, nothing makes sense. The one thing you look forward to in this whole film is a fight between Jason Momoa and Sylvester Stallone, which is going to happen at some point.
There is an axe to grind there.
They're trying to market this movie as like a meeting of the greats. And I'm sorry, raise your hand, guys, if you think that Jason Momoa looked like he was going to be the next big thing. Action movie star.
The only thing Jason Momoa is great at is complimenting my pancakes at brunch. Oh, wait, no, that's mimosa. Never mind, he's not great at anything.
He really is not.
I didn't think he was terrible. I actually thought it was one of these things where I was like, you know what? He's not bad, but the script is terrible.
Well, the sad thing
and what
is
they have him doing is bad.
He's the second best thing about this film after Sly Stallone himself, who is entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
And one thing I liked about Stallone in this movie, and if I may be so bold, I think he's kind of a subdued one-note actor generally. But in this film, he gets pissed off. Like, and when he gets angry, it's something that hasn't been in a long time. It's kind of scary. Yeah. Like, there's a scene where he gets attacked in the bathroom, and after he chases the guy away, after the guy's already gone, he gets up and he's just like, "You motherfucker!" And it's just like, "Whoa,
yeah,
whoa!" Somebody let Sly off the leash.
Well, kudos to the guy, whoever it was, who did the Foley and the sound editing for this.
Sure.
Because even though the fights I thought were, including that, especially in that scene, were not terribly well edited, they weren't incompetent, but they were still that same stuff we always complain about: too close, too many edits at the wrong
There
points.
used to be one hit that made me go, "Ooh!" But then after that, it's like, all right.
Well, the thing is, that was all the sound editing. It was all the
Yes.
Foley, and they did a terrific job of making stuff go like, "Oh, fuck!" And then after the fact, I'd think about it and go, "Oh, well, that was just actually the way they made it sound."
Yeah.
But the final fight between Sly Stallone and Jason Momoa, however contrived and ridiculous it is, the lead up, how stupid it is, the whole I'm sorry, obviously whoever wrote this originally thought Arnold Schwarzenegger or somebody of his level or kin, and it just
it's people who saw Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
The big fight between Mel Gibson
and Jet Li
and Gary Busey. But the way that fight comes together, where it's kind of like, we don't have to fight, but we're both badasses, and let's show each other what we got.
Yeah.
And even though it doesn't really make sense, by the time you're at that point in the movie, you're like, yes, let's do it.
And Sly Stallone is no Mel Gibson. I mean, say what you will about Mel Gibson
No.
and his craziness in his real life. He has proven to be one hell of an actor over
Absolutely.
the years. And his role, that part in Lethal Weapon, is one of the most effective parts of that whole
And
movie.
it's weird that we can say Jason Momoa is no Gary Busey. Like, I never thought I would ever speak that sentence in my life, but
because,
here we are.
It's decent fight choreography. It's, like I said, great sound editing, and both of them are really obviously trying really hard to make it work.
Yeah.
It's just that its context within this lackluster as fuck story is like, well, who gives a shit?
The way they put it together makes no sense. So it's hard to get behind it. It's like, okay, if I can pull myself back and go like, well, it looks really cool, and I just take it like it is, pull out everything else, sure. But everything that leads up to it's like, I don't understand why this is even happening.
And I will say, once again, this is played for camp. It's definitely no question that they knew they didn't have a great film on their hands right from the first starting shot. And it's like, we'll just play it for laughs, largely. It's just never really that funny, and it's not... Even a camp film has to have something about it that like a running thread that makes it work. It has to have a strong relationship between the two leads. This film's biggest flaw, and honestly, I would have given this film kind of a pass if it wasn't for the fact that Sung Kang's character, Detective Taylor Kwan, this cop, there's nothing likable about him. He never shows any particular skills that he adds to the equation. Like, the skill they try and give you as if like, oh, this is why Sly Stone keeps him around, is that he knows how to use a cell phone.
You're one of them phone guys, huh?
I can't do my job without it. I could use this as a weapon. I could jam your throat, hit your temple, bang. You'd be toast.
And I just sit there, right?
Well, I could break this glass and use it as a cutting edge. You'd never see me coming. Or I could use a lithium battery to poison your drink, drop it in your coffee. You wouldn't even taste it.
And I am not even kidding.
That is literally a plot point.
It's a plot point, a major plot point that he knows how to use a cell phone, even though we who use cell phones know that he's doing stuff with his cell phone you can't actually do with a cell phone.
Meanwhile, in the movie, Stallone's trying to make calls on an apple and a loaf of bread. Like, it's just sad. It's just like, take him back to the home, guys.
It's ridiculous. The guy constantly betrays him and backstabs him. Sly Stallone is like a wounded dog. throughout this, and you're like, why? Because everything you're telling us about him is that he's this standalone badass who seems very well prepared and has his shit together in the weird-ass fantasy of this universe of this movie. Why would he put up with this guy's bullshit for a minute? I mean, they right from the beginning, like, I hate cops, I'll kill a cop in a second, won't even think twice about it. Well, I have a suggestion to how this might go more smoothly.
It rhymes with Schmill the Schmop.
I wish I could say something good about this film past the fact that I do like Sly in this. I think he's funny. I think he's the only one who looks like he's having a good time doing this, and I enjoyed watching him have a good time. He has a lot of good lines and he has a lot of nice moments, but everything else fails really bad. And the highest thing I can say about this film, the highest rating I can give this film, is a rental.
Yeah. I've seen it with you guys. I laughed along with it and tried to have fun as much as I could and even get into the violence. But there does come a point when your brain goes, I can't keep doing this. I got to call it for what it is. And yeah, Sly seems like he was there for it. Everything's written for him. But even with his character, he's still trying to do that thing, kind of like you have with Rocky, where he's playing like, oh, he's a brute, but he's got a heart of gold. He's got a code. He says, yeah, I kill, but no women, no children. Yeah. And I'm like, for real?
Do you need to clarify that at this point?
Does that make you okay that you assassinated their husbands and fathers? Sure do. Whatever you need. But you're right. So much of the failing is on Sung Kang and his character, because he does things that make no sense. And he's an idiot. I mean, he's gullible to the point that it's even hard you can't even accept it. It's like, okay, the New Orleans cops tried to kill you, yet you're still calling them, giving them your whereabouts because you still believe in them. Yeah. It's New Orleans. It's the only place more corrupted than Mexico.
Yeah, take everything you know and your opinions out of New Orleans, out of your feelings about this. Take everything you've seen as a watcher of this film out of it, like we were privy to, and just what he is privy to as a character, and go, you're a fucking blithering idiot.
Yes. Yes, the nicest thing Stallone could do for you is a bullet to the head.
Yeah.
Which another thing about this movie is, like, almost everybody gets killed by a bullet to the head. There's a point when I noticed that, like, wow, almost every kill in here is somebody shot in the head. But beyond that, gosh, what was I going to say about this? I had something to go back to Sung Kang's character. And just with him and Stallone, yeah, you just don't want them to work together anymore, because it's like, man, you're really dragging this down. Everything I had hopes pinned upon. Quite cartoonish performances by Christian Slater and, like, all these guys who seem to think they're badasses but aren't. They're all just paper tigers.
Yeah.
And how it gets revealed, it's like, well, how'd they even get a chance to do this in the first place? I know what I was going to say. The whole thing about New Orleans being corrupt, if they had actually acknowledged that and made that a part of it, like, hey, we're in a super corrupt city, and so everything goes, I'd be like, okay, now I can buy this. But they don't. They make it like it's just anywhere else. I don't know where the actual graphic novel takes place. But yeah, there's just a point where this movie wasn't even fun. And it's just like, man, it's so incompetent. And even despite the fact that my latest crush, Sarah Shahi, gets naked for a millisecond, I still can't help but give this some old bullshit.
Wow. Where will Brian come in on this? Tune in next week when Brian... No.
What? I don't know. I think where I come in on this is it's sort of a Nerf dart to the head, because it's like it's all there, like all of the bland sort of traditional. You know what? This movie felt like it should have been made by Lionsgate. It felt like every dumped into theater action movie that Lionsgate has put out, right down to the fact that I'm pretty sure they've moved their entire studio to New Orleans for the tax benefits. But there's no chemistry between Stallone and Sung Kang, and there's the script is completely preposterous. The best things I can say about the movie is that Stallone gets angry, and Momoa sure is big, I guess. So that's really not much of a compliment at all. And it's really sad, because I love Walter Hill, and I love some of the movies of his canon, but he's clearly lost his touch. And that's not something that should necessarily be a given. I mean, we just saw Killer Joe last year from William Friedkin, who's a guy who's been working, just as long as Walter Hill, and that guy is still doing interesting things. And maybe it's a situation where he needs better projects. I just think he needs to be actively looking for them. I don't hate this movie only because I don't see enough there to hate, which is almost worse, I guess. It's just it's so vapid. Like I don't know. I would give it a rental just because there's nothing there for me to hate enough to give it anything lower.
You know, I hate to do this.
No, you don't.
Because normally we come up with one final, joke or some way to come back around at the end of the film, but there's so little to even say about this really mediocre film that I'm just gonna...
I know, I've heard the speech. We should have taken him in. Don't trust anybody. That's how you stay in the game. Bang, down, owned.